So they have an ashram in Palani near Coimbatore. And they have a Gurukulam. There are about 30 children who are full-time residents there. And they focus on Indian knowledge system, Bharatiya knowledge system. They'll talk a little bit more about the foundation. They focus on Bharatiya knowledge system where the children learn Bharatiya Ganita, Nakshatra Vidya, Ayurveda, and Sanskrit, in addition to the regular English education. They have a Goshala about now 40, 40 they have about a Goshala about 40. And then in addition to it, they do obviously all spiritual, they have yoga abhyasa, they do Himalayan yatra back in Bharat. And then Shriman is also an adjunct professor in IIT Delhi and teaches yogic neurosciences. So they're a pioneer in Indian knowledge system. So we thought we can, since they are here, they're traveling in the US, they'll be visiting different cities. They'll be here this week in California. We thought we can at least have a session on Mahabharata and utilize their presence. So thank you all so much for coming here.
We'll start with an invocation.
We also start with a song from Pranika's you want to sing?
After
the invitation, you want to sing?
No, we can start with Pranika's.
Go.
Let's start with an invocation. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. We bow down to Rishi Narayana and Nara, who incarnated as Bhagavan Shri Krishna and Arjuna for the protection of Dharma. And we bow down to Devi Saraswati, who is the governing intelligence of all knowledge and learning. And we bow down to the great Vyasa Bhagavan, who has given us this Jaya. Mahabharata is also called Jaya. Jaya means victory, to be successful. But we all understand success is an attitude. Success is not an external thing, but it is more the right inner orientation that leads to true success. And hence Jaya, when we say, it also refers to the Itihasa Purana, the collective knowledge base, which informs us about the right ways of living, the right attitudes to hold, and those that lead further in terms of karma, or the various activities that we get involved in. Now I'm using a lot of technical terms. Please bear with me. Now, why would, if we ask this simple question, why am I here? For example, we ask this question, why are we here? What would the answer be? The purpose being Mahabharata. What is in it for us in terms of a deed? If you expand the scope slightly further, why are you here in terms of, let's say, US? There would be a reasoning, there would be a purpose. Similarly, as we expand the scope further, why this Bhuloka? Even that is within reason. Why would one come to Earth? Are there other options to go elsewhere? That becomes a question. The Puranas throw light on such aspects. What is defined as success is to do with the purpose. I've come here for this purpose. If that is met, then it's a successful life. Likewise, why would we come to Bhuloka? Why would we want a human experience? Are there other experiences possible? This becomes a very critical question. Why be born at all? Right? Now, we take things more in terms of we are already immersed in the current experience. We do not know of any alternative experience. And hence, we think this is it. This is it. We are not taught in the modern educational process. We are not taught anything more. But if you look at our Purana, the Itihasa Purana, they educate us further. And hence, even such deep questions can be asked. So when we say Rishi Narayana and Rishi Nara, they incarnated as Sri Krishna and Arjuna. For what purpose? For the purpose of protecting Dharma. that itself becomes extremely illustrative. Oh, one can choose to be born for an appropriate purpose. And the purpose can be defined as one sees fit. Just as one can choose to come to the US. For example, I came to the US for becoming a multimillionaire. Not this time. Okay, please don't get me. My close friend and roommate is there. I'm very happy to see him, Pushkar.
Oh, very nice.
So he was my roommate.
You all roommates always figure in this story of the US.
Yeah, we do.
So, we are-
So you'll hear your. Now you can validate.
Yeah, finally you get to see him.
So all of them have heard about
Oh,
the
good.
roommates in the
So I wanted to be a multimillionaire and hence came to US. A very comfortable purpose, if we look at it. Right? But what happened after my masters, I had a spiritual experience. If you remember, you all went to New York, Times Square, and I was physically alone for 3 days in a house. And that time my masters was done, and I had no worries about it, no regrets. It was done. I was not yet looking towards a future in terms of a job. So past is done. Future, I'm not yet looking forward. Generally, the mind operates like this: past, future, past, future. Like that, it speaks. It is almost never in the present, in the now. At that time, for me, without my actually wanting to, I was in such circumstance where my mind was absolutely in the now. In the now. It was not going back and forth. It was not swinging between the past and the future. Because the masters was done, and somehow post masters, I felt empty. It's deadline after deadline after deadline. Someone can call it also burnout, however one calls it. It was done, and that's it. And I was also left physically out. Generally in Bharat, we are never physically out. Here I was not disturbed. That time mind became still. The breath became still. And later, to be able to explain to others, I started studying Indian philosophical texts. Then I understood that this experience is called Samadhi. A very simple experience. From my inner orientation, the experience was of deep relaxation, nothing else. Very deep relaxation. It was deeply relaxing. Because the mind is when the chapter is going on, let's say. Then it does not allow you to relax. Otherwise, it's very simple. For example, when we are in deep sleep, how is it? Deeply relaxing, that's all. Is it not so? It's so simple. Where you're just relaxed. Right? You're just deeply relaxed. Now, when we are asleep, we are unconscious. Now, imagine you are not asleep, but the mind is also still. It's absolutely silent. That's a beautiful experience. It's a very simple experience. And that changed everything for me. From that time, my orientation was very different. I don't know how he perceived it or if he remembers it. No,
I remember. It was very transformative. Second year, right? Especially very, very transformative. Adi changed from what he was to complete change. I don't know what happened.
no, no.
Second year of doing masters in North Carolina State University. Adi, when he came there first time, it was like full masti, full lot of energy. And then in second year it was exactly opposite. Like very aloof, by himself, meditating long time. I mean, meditating, doing masters in meditation. What is wrong with this guy? And I couldn't understand. I was just like literally we used to share a room. Like it's not even a house. Like we used to share a room. It was very different.
You meditated in your room like with other people around?
Yeah.
See, I
We used to meditate. I remember him meditating, and one time he started crying, and he opened and said, "I don't know why I was crying." I didn't understand basically.
I'm sure it would have been traumatic for
For us, yeah, this guy was away from his family, and I think he also had one family function which he missed. He couldn't go for that family function. So at least I thought maybe that is the reason, but it was something else.
Let's say you just troubled him so much.
It was actually my sister's marriage. So you can see this in Indian terms is called Prarabdha. So when we see Bhagavan Krishna and Arjuna taking birth, Bhagavan Krishna is called an avatar. Avatirana. Avatirana means descent. Oh, you see, as part of this, we will not just be discussing the regular stories that most of you might know. If you don't know, please don't worry. But we will try to look at the deeper insights. One which is directly applicable in our lives, but also those that are mystical in nature and all of that. We will try to throw light on such aspects. And hence, please also have an open mind. It might not always fit into our current state of understanding. Let's say our current state of understanding, our current state of logic might be along certain lines. But what the Puranas, what the Bharatiya Parampara presents, might actually be counterintuitive, might not fit into the logic that we are exposed to. So now, Avatara Purusha. You all have heard of Bhagavan Krishna. Now, Bhagavan is someone who has Shad Bhaga, or 6 great qualities, or Shad Aishwarya, or 6 great wealth. What are they? All power, all knowledge, all beauty, all name and fame, all wealth, and yet all vairagya. Then with all this, they will be able to use it for the right purpose. One who does not have vairagya cannot use the wealth or name and fame or beauty or power or knowledge appropriately. They will be immersed in it. They will be drowned in it. They will have a sense of ahankara. Even in little wealth, you will see, you will compare and feel superior or inferior. With knowledge, it's even more so. With power, definitely. That's the role of vairagya. When with detachment, one will be able to use these wealth. These are called wealth. Shad Bhaga. Bhagya. Bhaga. So such a person is called Bhagavan. That's the title given to such a person. So Bhagavan Sri Krishna. You can imagine such glorious life. and a Avatara Purusha. Now, Avatirna means a descent. Descent from where? Descent from a higher loka. This is a very key thing. Where do we come from? We are here. But where do we come from? That becomes very, very important question. Now, there is no way to reason out because we don't have content in modern day life or modern day education. There is no content to reason out about such things. Where do I come from? But if we look at our Indian Shastra, there is content. For example, Mahabharata, it said, what is not found there cannot be found anywhere. It's so comprehensive. So such content is also dealt with.
In fact, the descent of even Bhishma's birth.
Yeah, in fact, Bhishma's story is highly illustrative. So Bhishma is a Vasu. There are the Ashtavasu, who are divine beings. They don't belong to Bhuloka. So once they came to party to Bhuloka, it was party time. So they came to Bhuloka for vacation. And at that time, the eighth Vasu's wife happened to view Nandini, the cow of Vasishtha. A divine cow. One assumption that we carry now is we are all now immersed in anthropocentrism. That means, just human affairs. Our Itihasa Purana do not suffer from such limitation. It will not just be about human affairs. Homo sapiens is one species. If you look at Mahabharata or Ramayana, for example, or the Puranas, there will be interaction amongst multiple species. This is very tough to get for many people who start out on the journey. Because now we don't interact with other species, do we? Even with other Homo sapiens, it's difficult to interact. They're always busy with the devices to look at this. So anybody else seems like a different species. But that's not what we are talking here. It's actually multi-species interaction. Likewise, multi-loka interaction. You will find this all through the Purana. In Ramayana, for example, Sri Ramachandra Prabhu is a Homo sapien. Ravana is non-Homo sapien, not a human being. The Vanara Hanumanji is non-Homo sapien.
In fact, at some point in time, Ravana would say to Sita Ma that you either marry me or I will eat you up.
Is that even an option? And that's not cannibalism. So you would see multi-species interaction. And this would be the norm across the Purana. Now our lives are not, that's not the norm. We don't interact with other species at all. We might in fact look down upon other species as we might not look at other species as intelligent. But no, you will find descriptions in the Purana. For example, Ravana is considered a Vaidika Pandita, great scholar. Hanumanji, who is a non-Homo Homo sapien, he is considered an expert, Pandita. Oh no, but knowledge is of human origin. No, knowledge is not of human origin. Society is not of human origin. These concepts can be quite, shocking for a modern mind, which is used to more like a linear idea of history, linear narrative of history, where past we were hunters-gatherers, present technological revolution, future better civilization. That's called a linear view of history. Our Puranas don't have a linear idea of history. Now, the non-linearity is displayed, for example, through the story of Bhishma, who is born as Devaka. But the circumstances of that birth are, the illustration of it is mind-boggling. So the Ashtavasu come to Bhuloka. They are not from Bhuloka. They come visiting. And there, the eighth Vasu's wife takes a liking for Nandini. And Nandini is a divine cow. She is capable of granting all wishes. One of the wish that everyone has is to have a prolonged life. Mrityurma amritangamai. Amrita. Especially, children might not realize it. But as we start aging, we start realizing. As we start aging, Muttuvali varum, Muduguvali, this is called knee pain, back pain, joint pain. Then we feel how good it was. I could jump, I could do anything. Now we will have to think before taking a step, before going for a job or doing any work. And as we age, we will start seeing the disadvantages of aging. We see this all around, but when we go through it, that's almost the most painful part. And it's not fun. So much wealth of experience we are growing in. And yet, the process of aging can be highly constrained. So Nandini's milk is supposed to grant great longevity of more than 10,000 years without illness. Even now, most of modern Western research, it's about longevity, anti-aging formula. Actually, anti-aging formula. With some modern research, there are combinations that people are looking at, which can prolong human life to about 150 years. Did you know? Such research is happening now. 150 years. Who wants 100 years full lifetime? Okay. Not everyone will sign up for 100 years. This itself seems like why would one want a long life? Right?
If it is without issue, then it's fine.
Without issues. So we would want a long life without issues, without problems. And definitely no Muttuvali Muduguvali. That's debilitating, knee pain, for example. That's in local Tamil. Please bear it. So you'd see long life and completely healthy, disease-free. This is an aspiration, a valid aspiration. So Nandini's milk would grant that. Is that even possible? Yes, if it's appropriate chemical formula. For example, we belong to the Siddha Parampara. We come from a place called Parani. Parani is famous for Bhoga. Siddha Bhoganath. In the North Indian tradition, he's called Bhoganath. In the South Indian tradition, he's called Bhoga. In the Chinese tradition, he's called Lao Tzu. His guru Kalanginada is called Confucius. Now, this can be very startling. What? But these are all well recorded. Now, this kind of history we may not have been exposed to. Now, there in the Siddha tradition or in the Ayurvedic tradition, you would see that the elixir of life, or what will give Bala, Arogya, Ayu. That is under constant research.
What is Arogya?
Arogya is health,
Bala is strength.
Bala is strength, and Ayu is longevity. So not just modern medicine. For modern medicine also, that is the focus. Billions of dollars worth of research is pumped into actually anti-aging longevity solutions. And Nandini's milk gives it. So if you look at Ayurveda or Siddha, there will be two different processes. One of the processes is to do with herbs. And the cow's milk is a representation of all the herbs well digested and presented in a digestible form.
In fact, they say that when a cow licks us, they tend to understand the illnesses or diseases or imbalances that we have. And then when they graze, they accordingly take the herbs. And then when we drink the milk, it acts as a medicine for those illnesses.
So it's like a cow has that.
Yeah, cow has that.
They hang out with the cow.
Yeah,
Exactly.
very
Now that kind of intelligence is recognized in the ancient tradition. Now we don't recognize that as part of modern knowledge part. We don't give credence to, it's just a cow.
But then the entire chain has also been broken because we buy milk separately, we buy medicines separately. So it's not an integrated system anymore.
These days cow cuddling is becoming popular.
Yeah.
It is.
Cow
What is
has-
that? Cow cuddling.
Yeah, in fact,
We went to a Goshala
yeah, we
yesterday.
went to a Goshala yesterday.
In San Ramon, it's very good.
Yeah, it was a very happy occasion. Amazing cows. Definitely, children should be taken there. Cows help, stabilize our microbiome. The gut microbiota, especially. The body can be looked at as a superorganism, where, let's say, there are trillions of cells. Let's say, for example, there are 100 trillion cells. We are almost 70 to 90% microbial in nature. Only 10 to 30% is human cells. Otherwise, it's so many microbial colonies that interoperate to give us this human experience. This is modern science. And there, cow, or what is called Panchagavya, Gavya, essentially enhances the good microbial population. Rows of good microbes. Because the idea of health now is shifting from antibiotic to probiotic. It's so probiota. Antibiota is you cleanse off all good as well as bad microbes. But that is not an ideal solution. Probiotic means the good microbial population keeps the bad microbial population in check. That's good health. And that is well recognized in the Indian process, which recommends things like Panchagavya. Gavya is meant to do this. So that way, the Ashtavasu, the 8th Vasu's wife, wants Nandini to be given as a gift to her human friend. She has a friend. She is not human. She wants to give it to her human friend. And hence she encourages her husband to pick up Nandini. What would it amount to? Now Nandini is Vasishta. She wants Nandini. So if Nandini is picked up, there is stealing, there is theft. So Vasus are divine beings. Obviously they understand dharma. The 8th Vasu, hesitates. He says it's not valid. Please don't ask me to do this. But then she gradually insists. She persists. And where there is this persistence, there the husband might not have a choice. This can be seen in relationships. This is true of modern day relationship. It is true of ancient relationship. So it's not just the husband, it's also the wife. And over a period of time, the relationship would have become so intertwined that the reasoning itself will be colored by the nature of the relationship. It's very useful to understand. The reasoning is generally not apart from the bandhana that we have. It's called the Anaadi bandhana. So one of the strong bandhana is the emotional relationships that we have in our life. And the strongest is that of a wife or husband. Initially, it is that of the mother. That's how it's explained. And in practical experience also it holds true. And because of this insistence, the eighth Vasu, who's a great being, he stoops to the extent of picking up Nandi. And he involves his brothers in the process. The all-knowing Vasishta, he comes to know, obviously, and curses the Vasu, saying, you are divine beings with knowledge of dharma. You are in a position to protect dharma. But you yourselves have violated this. And hence, you should be born in Bhuloka. So, observe this interesting twist. The curse is to be born in Bhuloka. So, we are all cursed? No. This is for a Vasu, a high being, who holds high office, an office of authority, power. Now, this is a very important concept. We think, let's say for example, I come here. Is California well governed? Oh, this is election time. Let me not go there.
See, no one answered.
It's California governed. Maybe we can stop there.
So there is a governing influence. There is a governance structure in place which gives us this nature of our experience. Everything that we see is governed. Do you see anything that is not governed? That's just random. Yes?
Sometimes it's governance overreach also.
Okay, overreach. So what do you think is not governed? Okay.
We can say nature.
Nature. So nature is not governed.
What about chance interactions?
Chance interaction, coincidence.
Yeah, coincidences happen all the time.
Coincidence.
Everything cannot
Nature,
be
nature, I
chance.
feel is the most governed. In many places I've seen. Like when I lived in Italy, there used to be only two reasons why there used to be trees. Either they are useful or they are beautiful. Otherwise, that tree wouldn't be there.
So even mountains used to be harvested.
Yeah. You would see harvesters traveling on the mountains, completely raising them.
In India, for example, do you think nature is governed or not? Do you find original forests?
More or less. Not many, but still.
No, for example, Western Ghats. We were traveling. It's filled with teak. Who planted those teak?
Eucalyptus.
British, no? Like that, it's governed. Now we think, oh, it's a big tree. If we reason out, then we would see that even that's harvested.
Earlier you would read they ran away to the forest. But now you can't run away to the forest. You need to produce Aadhaar card. If you want to run away to the forest.
It was the condition for to go to Ooty.
Yeah.
Dallas.
So nature, we might think that it's not governed. In the Indian sense, this is a very useful point of view. In the Indian sense, like for example, if you come by flight, we see a lot of land in California. California is a massive state. So when I land here, I tell Shankar, there is so much land in California. Even in the Bay Area, there is so much land. So I tell Shankar, why don't you buy some few hundred acres in Bay Area? Or we can just walk in and occupy. Because there is so much land. We can just walk in and occupy. What do you think? Obviously, the Bay Area, you get really low. Where are you coming from? Like that, in this whole wide earth, there is no place which is not occupied. Do you agree? In this whole wide earth, is there any place which is unoccupied? Everything is occupied.
But may not be habit.
Yeah, it may not occupy in the sense.
Owned.
It belongs to someone. They may not live there, but it belongs to someone. Like that, in this whole wide universe, the Indian texts say there is no piece of space which is not governed. There is no time period which is not governed. So even Dik and Kala, space and time is well governed. Now this can be a shocking concept. How can time be governed? See, that's why you would have for example, Monday is governed by Somavara. If you know the calculation, first Hora or first it's Ahoratra. Ahoratra. Ahas means day, Ratra means night. So the first Hora or the hour, hour comes from this. The first hour, the governing intelligence, that is the day's name. You order it from exterior planets to superior planets to inferior planets, or Graha, with sun in the center. This is how the calculation is. So everything is governed, even time is governed. Now we don't have that concept. In modern knowledge, we are not looking at it as governed. But even time is governed. It is not governed. If you look at it, the sun is rising and setting, and that determines our time. But is the sun rising and setting? The sun is not rising and setting. So this can be quite shocking. The earth is rotating. And hence we get this view of time itself. And that time in the Indian philosophical thought is well managed. And that's called Daiva. Daiva means, just like who governs California? Humans. We don't ask specifically which human being. There is a full system of governance. Like that, nature is governed by Daiva. It's well governed. Now, this can be a very shocking concept. But that's how it is described.
When we say Purana itself, it has 5 components to it. All the Puranas have 5 components. One is Sarga, Pratisarga, Vamsha, Vamshanucharita, and Manvantara. So the Sarga and Pratisarga talk about the major creations, the cosmology and evolutionary biology, how this life form emerged, how various life forms were created, and when did humans emerge. All that is mentioned in the Puranas. And the Vamsha talks about the various lineages, like you have the solar dynasty, you have the lunar dynasty. And the Vamshanucharita talks about the various kingdoms that were there and civilizations that were there. And the Manvantara talks about the larger time scales in terms of the Yuga system. You have the Chatur Yuga, then you have the Mahayugas, Kalpa, Manvantara, and who are the governing authorities of each time frame. All this is mentioned in all the Puranas. And the Mahabharata, in fact, forms like a core where there are characters from all these Puranas, but then a summary of it is provided in the Mahabharata.
So it is like a central backbone, cross-referenced across all the Puranas. So that way it's a very powerful cross-referencing architecture. We can see this. See, we might have thought, then is there no concept of free will? No, we need appropriate governance to ensure free will or free will operation. We need good governance. If good governance is not there, then the individual is not free to perform their swadharma. That is the reason. Now, this is a very deep reasoning. If nature is not well governed, as human beings, can we live peacefully? What do you think? No, highly problematic. Highly problematic. So this kind of orientation one finds in the Indian Shastra. So Vasishta curses the Ashtavasus, the 7 Vasus, for abetting the crime. What is the crime? Of picking up Nandini. Vasishta Muni does not have a problem. He is very large-hearted. He will gift away Nandini. But the problem is that Nandini does not want to be stolen. And hence it's violation of her Ichcha. And hence the Vasus are cursed. So the first 7 Vasus plead guilty, but plead to Vasishta Muni. Please lessen our term, our sentence. And hence they are cursed to be in the womb, and then they will be liberated from the physical form. The 8th Vasu is cursed to a long and prosperous, glorious existence on earth. So a glorious life on earth is still a curse for a divine being, because it's highly constrained being in the body. So the 8th Vasu, the Ashtavasus, then approach Ma Ganga, because they need an appropriate womb to be born from. Ma Ganga agrees to be their mother. And Ma Ganga is married to Shantanu. The Ashtavasus decide that that lineage will be appropriate for them to be born. That's the level of degree of freedom that they have. Not all enjoy such degrees of freedom, where choosing where to be born, which lineage to be born. That degree of freedom one gains through spiritual process. It is just like a CEO might enjoy a degree of freedom, which a new trainee might not enjoy. But how does one become a CEO? With a lot of committed effort. Similarly, spiritual effort gives us that degree of freedom.
So,
Just
is
to
that freedom?
So, free will in that space is looked at in terms of a spectrum. At one end of the spectrum, we say free will. At another end of the spectrum, we say fate or destiny. Okay. But please look at this as a spectrum, one connected to the other, not one versus the other. It does not work in terms of one versus the other. For this, we need to understand a very important concept called karma. We say prarabdha karma. Now, for example, what is the prarabdha of the Ashtavasus? Because of the curse, they have a certain prarabdha. Okay. And the first 7 Vasus are born through Ma Ganga, but immediately drowned by Ma Ganga. Because that's the agreement that she has with the first 7 Vasus.
So she tells Shantanu, I mean, if you were to marry me, I have a condition that whatever I do, you're not supposed to question that particular action. And the moment you question, that would be the end of our relationship. That was a huge condition that she put forth.
Imagine women in power.
Yeah.
Then such a, you can place a condition and people agree.
But most people think of women of those times having no voice, oppressed or not in the forefront of managing things. But Mahabharata is full of such women who have been able to put forth, like, she had a huge condition that you should not, question me.
No
I
questions.
sometimes joke that, I sometimes follow the Ganga model. The moment you question, I will stop doing this.
And it works all the time. And that's also because, responsibility. One is so responsible that one is indispensable.
And you have also gained the trust to that extent that you're not questioned for your actions. In fact, she was the Maharani of that entire kingdom. With the first few Vasus, when she with the first few children, when she let into the water, nobody questioned her. But then internally, there was so much going on there in terms of, she was perceived like a Rakshasi.
Because
Why
it's
would
like-
a mother just, drown the newborn children? But yet, Shantanu did not ask any.
No questions asked. See, imagine the advanced civilization of that time. It's way too advanced for us to understand now. Yeah, because it's See, no questions asked, even to the extent of drowning your own child. And she's the Maharani. That means she's a mother. She's
She's
looked
also
at as a
setting
mother.
as an example
Example
for
for the entire kingdom.
Praja to follow.
All the Praja look up to her. She's in such a high position and she does such an act. And yet, nobody questions her. The 8th Vasu is when Raja Shantanu is unable to bear it. And hence he questions her. What are you doing? And hence the agreement is broken. The marriage contract ends there. So she walks out of the marriage. Then she reveals to Shantanu who he was in his previous life. Because Ma Ganga knows she has taken up a body not through a womb. When you take up a body through a womb, there are certain vayus. Such processes are described. Okay. That make you forget who you are. So that you can have this human experience. How interesting. If we remember who we are, will we have a comfortable lived experience? What do you think?
Maybe not.
Many people are interested in knowing past life and all that.
It might be exciting, but it may not be so exciting also. Like the actor Vasu. Are you comfortable with your current state of life? Absolutely comfortable. If not, your past can hold more discomfort. Because who knows, it's a non-linear existence. It's not linear. Have we been able to come to terms with?
Why did only 7 of them got? Because they went and requested Vasishta, the 8th one did not.
No, the 8th
It
one.
was the instrumental, he was the one who stole the house. So
Oh,
the
he was the
penalty is
prime
more.
accused. Okay.
Yeah.
He was the prime accused. Others abetment in crime.
Okay. Okay.
More like partners in crime.
But
not
he
equal
was the one
partners.
who also told his wife, no, don't do that, right? Like,
But he did he
oh,
committed
he
the act.
finally ended up doing it. Okay, got it. Okay.
See, that's the nature of relationship. When you have in a close relationship, over a period of time, anyhow the reasoning gets the color. There is no other way.
Okay.
That's how it works.
Got it.
And hence he is cursed. The 8th one is cursed by Vasishta. See the intelligence of the curse. The curse is not a random act. The curse is like a parihara. or a counter, you have a certain view which has caused a certain action. Now, how do you correct that view? That is the idea of even the jail term. How to correct a view which has led to that action. For example, in Indian life we do this, with Ganesha, Vigneshwara, we do Topakarma. What do you call that? Ukki.
Yeah. Pardon.
Ah,
Even not just Ganesha, we do it in school also.
school also. No, I don't think in schools. Here, definitely not.
It's called brain power yoga.
It's in fact called brain power yoga. Someone was once mentioning that they learned it in Hong Kong for paying $250. They went like,
It's a part of prana.
okay. So the reason why we do the samskara, we for children, we pierce the ear. This has a very deep meaning. What practically this is to help balance the left and right hemisphere. A balanced functioning leads you to overcoming obstacles. So when we say Vigneshwara, Vigna means obstacles. The obstacles in our life are because of our own imbalanced views. So that's why this is given as a punishment. How to balance this view? You would see that if you do this a few times, immediately your left and right nostril will balance. There could be imbalance in the flow in the left and right nostril. This is called Surya Nadi, Chandra Nadi, or Pingala Ida. I know there is a lot of knowledge. Please don't get overwhelmed. I'm sure already it may be overwhelmed. That's why I think the AC actually has to be increased, I think.
Yeah. Very warm.
So the 8th Vasu is cursed in such a manner to decolor his view. Why did he act in such a manner?
Like Bhuloka is a correction facility in that sense for him.
For him, not for everybody. For,
What did Ganga have to do? Why did she agree?
yeah, so Ganga reveals to Shantanu. So the 8th Vasu is cursed in an intelligent manner as a parihara. How to correct the view? So one of the clauses of the curse, or let's say sub-clause, is to not be married. Because marriage has caused this coloring, and hence you will not have woman's company in this lifetime. So Bhishma becomes a brahmachari, lifelong brahmachari. He does not marry. He stays away from women.
So in fact, in a way, if you see, Bhishma thought that he is, through his own free will, he is taking the oath of brahmacharya. But in a way, it was destined.
There is also free will. There is also predestination. Right? Both together. That's why it's a spectrum. It's very useful to reason out. See, these are all highly introspective in nature. You would see, just listening to it, you start going deep within yourself. It's not necessary to immediately understand it, but this helps us deeply introspect as to our own life circumstances. Why do we do what we do? By listening to the Mahabharata, you actually start experiencing what is called Antakarana Shuddhi. Shuddhi means cleansing of the Antakarana. Antakarana means the inner instrument. Bahya Karana means outer instrument. Antakarana means inner instrument. Karana means instrument. Now the body is looked at as Bahya Karana. Bahya Karana means outer instrument, with which we perform karma in the Bahya Loka, which is Bhuta Akasha. The outer space, how do we perform activities? Through the Bahya Karana, which is the body. In the inner space, how do we perform activities? With the Antakarana, the inner instrument. So the body and mind are looked at as instruments, which is a very powerful view. then who am I? Who are you? You are not limited to this body. Not limited to this. This is considered a karana, an instrument. Now, an instrument has appropriate purpose for it. The purpose is looked at in terms of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Broad orientation. Okay. Categorization of various activities. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Again, there is a spectrum. Outer and inner. So the outer spectrum will be to do with outcome. Dharma, artha, kama as outcome. The inner is in terms of intention. What's your intention in doing something? You perform activity with your body and mind. Why do you do that? That intention can be broadly looked at in terms of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Okay. I know, complex. For example, if you are a student, we are teachers. So we have met lakhs of students there. So when we ask students, why do you study? What can be the kinds of responses? Why do you study? A very simple question. For a job. So what is the job? Where will you place it? Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Artha. Yes, well, what else can the students respond?
Knowledge.
Knowledge, intellectual growth. What is knowledge? Where will you place it?
Artha.
Artha. That's why Vidyarthi. Student is called one whose Artha, wealth, is Vidya. It's called a Vidyarthi. It's a very intelligent way of reasoning out, very clearly. Now, some students might respond that I hate it. Because of parental pressure, I am here. Then where will you place it?
Kama.
Actually, karma.
Parents' desire.
So, sadistic pressure.
It's karma.
Dharma.
No, it does not come in this framework. Don't worry. It's outside this framework. That's like constraint. Oh, I hate it. So many of us coming to Bhuloka might feel constrained by our circumstances. Because we are not able to place it within the Purushartha. It's a very highly intelligent process.
What do you do if you feel constant?
What do you do if you feel constrained? Let's say you hate being in college because, but you feel constrained because because of your parents you are there, or you hate being in a job. See, not everyone loves a job. No, not everyone loves going to school. Daily you have to drag your feet to school. Like that, not everyone loves college. Some people drag their feet to college. Not everyone loves a job. We drag our feet to a job. Now there is the idea of constraint. We feel constrained. Oh, I don't want to be in a job, but we feel constrained. Like that in life itself, you could feel constrained. If it is constraining, what's your experience? What's the nature of your experience? Stress, suffering, misery. But who's caused that constraint?
Circumstance.
You.
It's my
Circumstances?
but it is governed.
Okay, it's governed by someone else. So you are just a puppet.
Something circumstances are not in your hands.
No,
Sometimes circumstances are not in your hand.
no, governed by Savior.
Governed by Devas.
It's like outsourcing the problem. It's not on me.
See, that's a very powerful view to have. So we call that Ishvara Pranidhana. For example, I shared my spiritual experience with you. That was not on me. That was, see, I did not aspire for that spiritual experience. As he said, no, I came to US, we used to discuss how to make, what all, And suddenly I was left with this experience, which was not my aspiration, at least conscious aspiration. See, in normal education, the prime focus is artha, right? A job or regular engineering education. We've all gone through it. For example, my close friend is here. In college days, we used to sit and discuss how to be multimillionaire. And that's how we both landed here. Now why? Because only that is shown. Nothing else was shown. You see? What else to do with education? See, why get engineering education? For knowledge. Knowledge is available everywhere. Why will you pay a ton of money, especially in US education? See, people start with a debt. Maybe Indian students don't start with a debt because of Indian family system. Otherwise, everybody starts with a debt. Their career, they start with a debt. Because even undergraduate education, you cannot pay. It's so expensive. Though for knowledge, will one spend so much money? So, the reasoning, when you start seeing the reasoning, there are deeper reasonings to why do you do what you do. When this reasoning is not clear, the circumstances can be highly constraining. You will suffer it. For example, let me share an anecdote, which I share everywhere. Every year we take hundreds of people to Himalayan Yatra. So in one such yatra, after September, it was after the monsoon, there was a landslide. Nothing happened, we were just stuck in a traffic jam. So the mud becomes loose, the rocks roll down, and then the government employs people to break the stones, clear the path, so that the yatris can move forward. Okay. So we were stuck in a traffic jam. It was a beautiful city. It's Himalaya, it's grand, and there was a lineup of all vehicles. To the far end, it was like ants in a line. It was so beautiful, and the backdrop was massive. I was enjoying the scene. There's nothing else to do. Some were complaining, oh yeah, what is this? Because uncertainty can be quite... uncertainty is not easy to handle. Is it not so? But क्या होगा? Visa stamping होगा कि नहीं? Uncertainty can be quite traumatic. So that's why we want green card or citizenship, It's not wrong, So we try to, compensate for uncertainty. But the Himalayas are such that uncertainty is there. Go the go. Those who are not used to it can be quite unnerving. Because in the plains, it's certainty. You plan, you can execute the plan. In the Himalayas, there is a good dose of uncertainty. So you plan, still you'll have to be adaptable.
We always plan for an extra day of, say, uncertainty.
So we were stuck in a traffic jam, and I was observing some people break stones. So one old lady, she appealed to me so much. Her presence was so soothing. So I approached her, asked her, "Maji, aap kahan se?" Mother Dara from. He passed down from a nearby village. अब ये कब से करती आ रही? From when are you doing? बचपन से करती आ रही. From childhood I've been breaking stone. Hard work. आप ये क्यों करती? Why do you do? She simply responded, ताकि आप घर पहुंची खुशी रहे. We would reach home safely and be happy. I felt wow. I've asked, I've met a lot of successful people, successful with respect to society. Many people, when they ask them, why do you do what you do? Many would be like, Adi, please teach me something. No, I'm totally stressed out. That would be a normal response. It's not wrong. Now, she could have responded, saying, Chal hat. That's also a valid response. When we are irritated, we are doing something, someone approaches us, but we shoot them away. That's a valid response. She did not choose to do that. She could have said, what to do? The government panitanka. Government imposes a constraint where we have to break stones. Go the go. We all feel constrained by the circumstances of our life. It could be our spouses. It could be our bosses. Poor boss. Go the go for them. But we feel constrained. Constrained by the circumstances of our life. She did not choose to say that. She could have said, I have grandchildren at home. I have to anyhow earn for them. She did not choose to say that. She chose to say, you should be happy, and hence I'm doing this. See the reasoning. The intention behind such a tough act. She is not perceiving breaking stones in the sun as a constraining prophet. You are free to adopt the view that you want. So that's why when we say Jaya, the Purana, Mahabharata, when we listen to it, it leads to Antakarana Shuddhi. The inner instrument gets refined, our view gets liberated.
There is the story of this Gautami, whose son is killed by a snake.
So that's a beautiful story. That's where karma, to illustrate these aspects, to illustrate it so that we get the right view. And that's a liberated view. Because the view can be constraining or the view can be liberating. Even the best of circumstances, if your view is constraining, how do you experience life? Oh, you suffer through it. If the view is liberating, your experience of life is great. It's not just to do with the outer circumstances. All of us may have the same outer circumstances, but what's the kind of experience? Constraining experience or liberating experience? What leads to that? To illustrate this, various stories are to illustrate the Purushartha, all through the Mahabharata. So it happens that Gautami is a Brahmin, is a Brahmin. Her son dies of a snake bite. There is a hunter who feels that the snake should be punished for that act. So he wants to put an end to the snake's life. Now the snake surprisingly protests, saying, I am not the cause for the death. Very surprising. What? You are the one who bit the boy. Now the boy is no more. But the snake claims, intelligent snake, claims that I am not the cause for the boy's death. Then who is? So the snake refers to, Mrityu as the cause of death. Then Mrityu comes and says, I am not the cause of the boy's death. Nice story. Then he says, Kala is the cause of this. Then Kala appears in a personified form and says, I am not the cause of the boy's death. The boy's previous karma is the cause. That's highly illustrative. So we were talking of free will. What leads to free will action? There's a beautiful episode in the Mahabharata where Bhagavan Krishna tells Arjuna. Arjuna becomes slightly weak-hearted. He displays this weak-heartedness periodically. Bhagavan Bhagavan Krishna stays along with him to remain him. So you have encountered the Bhagavad Gita. It's highly illustrated. If there is one text that you should use as a ready reference manual, it is the Bhagavad Gita. They will have solutions for everything. Any shloka you randomly read, it will actually solve your problem. It's that powerful, that deep. So Bhagavan Krishna tells Arjuna, through your Purushartha or Purushakara, you can overcome your Prarabdha, which is nothing but the Purushakara of the Deva. This is a highly illustrating logic. So what we imagine to be our destiny or fate is nothing but the Purushakara of the Deva. Purushakara means prayatna, effort. It is
Like parents create an environment for the children. Children have some scope, anyway, freedom, but it is also within the constraints of what the home environment has created.
it's just like modern education. The karma phala, the mapping between effort and what you receive as the phala. Karma phala means reward or effort. Your effort and the consequence of the effort or the result of the effort.
The grades for it.
Grades. That's a useful illustration. It illustrates this concept. Now the student puts in effort and gets appropriate grades. Now who ensures that the grades are appropriate results are there for the student's effort?
The system.
The larger system, the professors, the academic system. The academic system, is it in the control of the individual student? No. So the mapping between the karma and karma phala, the effort and the appropriate result, is not in the hands of the student themselves, but is well governed as a larger system. Like that, when we look at even our life, karma phala. What guarantees this linkage? And that's called Daiva Purushakara. That means the prayatna of the Devata. Now Bhagavan Krishna is advising Arjuna that with your effort, because he's a rishi, with your effort you can overcome the effort of the Devata. Isn't that fascinating? Now that gives us clues. The nature of Prarabdha. What is meant by Prarabdha? What is meant by Sanchita Karma? What is the nature of Karma? So Karma we look at as activities that we perform with our body and mind. And verbal activity. For example, we are performing this verbal activity. Now what is the outcome or result of this verbal activity? What do you think?
Some knowledge.
Knowledge. Or antakaran shuddhi. In your antakarana, there will be an appropriate view, there will be the outcome or result because of this verbal activity. Is it not so? Yeah? There can be a valid result, valid outcome. Now that activity is called karma. There is a result to it. And the result is not just outer. The result is also inner. Please look at it as a spectrum. The result of any activity is not just outer. What is happening in the mind, inner, further impression? These are called sanskara. The more we engage in any kind of activity, the more the impressions that are formed. Let's say we engage in some negative attitude, negative activity. There's a beautiful explanation for this. Happiness is called sukha. Sukh, dukh. See, in Sanskrit and Hindi, the difference is in terms of the final thing will have Mahabharata. In Hindi it will be Mahabharata. So please don't yoga. Like that, sukha. Sukh. So please, Hindi people, please forgive us. We are using the Sanskrit way of sharing. Sukha. Kha means space. Sukha means good space. Dukha means
Bad space.
bad space. Which space are we talking about? Inner space. Sukha, dukha. Good space, bad space. Now, if the outer space, when will you call it sukha? It's clean. If it is not clean, dukha, how will you make it sukha? By cleaning it. Like that, apply it to your inner space, your mind. Dukha. How will you create sukha?
What does it mean?
What does it mean to clean the mind? Good thoughts. How would you fill your mind with good thoughts? Good deeds. Realization.
Or maturity.
Maturity, definitely.
Good company.
Good company. Good content.
Positive. Inspiring books.
Inspiring books. If you binge watch dark episodes from Netflix, definitely
Sukha will become dukha.
it will get reversed. So what content you put in matters. What company you keep matters. Because dukha, sukha is space. And there is a consequence to those activities that we engage in. The ones it so happened, as a child, I watched the one and only horror movie of my life. Now, people may not consider that a horror movie. It will be more childish. But at that time, it was horrifying for me. I watched it, and at around 1, 2 a.m., I shouted, "Oh!" I shouted. Then everyone in my family woke up. And my father gave me a tight slap. He said, "From now on, if you watch Kandalim Pathena Irukon." That means, if you watch random stuff, you'll get it from me. Then I decided it's not worth watching. So even now, when I was invited to watch some horror movie here, I said, "Oh, Juju, I have a weak heart. I cannot handle it. It will create a lot of dukha. Too sensitive. Why would I create that for myself? Would I want it? Is there any fun? No fun. One should not enjoy dukha. And it's a simple process. It has to be translated into karma. What activities will lead to what? Is it not so? That's why karma is a very critical aspect to be understood. And karma we perform through body, mind, and speaking. Kaya, vak, and mana. Very simple framework. And the consequences are not always linear. Now, generally, when we think cause and effect, we assume linear. It's like linear algebra. Ax plus b equal to c. Solve for x. That might be simplistic circumstances. When you have very simplistic circumstances, then it's linear causation. When you don't have, as the number of parameters go, you have non-linear causation. In modern, complexity theory, these are called emergent phenomena. For example, how do thoughts emerge in the mind? If you were to understand, for example, this is the democratic nation. That is democracy. To illustrate that to children, it's the toughest. Because where do you show democracy? How to understand it? Where is love? Is that expression love? So it's an emergent phenomenon. Once it happened that someone came. We have had students since we have been teachers for a long time. A couple of our students got married, and they came home, and the wife, also our student, mentioned that see, he does not even tell that I love you. And what's wrong in expecting? I just want a simple statement, I love you. So I told the boy, also a student, 3 times in a day, you have to mention I love you. And he sincerely did it. And it improved the relationship. Sometimes it could be simple expectation. What's wrong in telling I love you to your wife? Or wife to the husband. Please don't discriminate it. Simple expectations. Nothing wrong in just that, in Indian sense, for example, if I tell my mother, I love you, she will feel it. Tell her, get out of the kitchen. What do you want? So, but simple expectation. Simple consequence. Karma, karma, sometimes a linear mapping. But then a complex thing like love or democracy. Where do you search in the brain for such a thing? Which part of the brain generates love? Or which part of the brain generates democracy? No. That's not a linear mapping. Now, for example, we guide yoga research, yoga and neuroscience research. So when we guide it, many PhD scholars have this linear view. They will ask us, what asana, what pranayama should I do to get this experience? No, an experience is a complex phenomenon. You cannot have a direct mapping of one asana or pranayama to an outcome.
Like the voting process.
Even a voting process, right? I vote for this candidate and I expect that candidate to win. Can I say that I voted for this candidate and this candidate won? Can any of you say that?
Can.
Then why do you vote?
Everybody can say that.
You can say it.
We can say, I voted and hence the candidate won.
Partially
That's not
true.
the sole reason.
Partially true.
How partial? How partial?
One,
Yeah.
one divided by size of.
One in maybe Earth's Californian population.
Maybe voting population is 10 million.
10 million. So 1 in 10 million, your vote counts. Or can you say that my vote does not count? No, that's also not. Your vote counts, but to this extent. So this is a non-linear mapping. This is a complex mapping. Now all complex systems work like this. You'd see even trees. When certain trees are cut, then the whole forest collapses.
On the redwood trees in
Redwood trees. That's a classic mapping. What leads to that? Because there is a complex interwoven network. So like this, these are emergent conditions. In our own lives, for example, what is a family? Is it just individuals? How do you ensure a good family? It's complex value systems. Now those complex value systems might not just be a consequence of some activity that you do. And directly mapping it as, okay, this will lead to good values. Now if we have such a view, then that itself can be a cause of huge trauma.
You can. Bhishma said itself. There's a little more to it, which
Little.
illustrates this non-linear.
Illustrates this. So that's why coming back to Bhishma's story, you see, the purpose for his birth itself was complex, non-linear. And once the marriage contract is broken, Ma Ganga did not claim as a marriage contract, contractual obligation. And as part of the marriage contract, Shantanu cannot question. Once he is questioned, the contractual obligation is broken.
And then she in fact talks about Shantanu's
So Shantanu's past, she explains. Because now that the contractual obligation is broken, she does not want to leave Shantanu high and dry. She wants to assuage his grief. No. See, it's shattering. Because Ganga is his love. And she is perfect in all respect. No, in every which way, she is perfect. Except for these episodes, which Shantanu is unable to understand. And hence he has questioned her action. Which till now, he has never had any reason to question her action. Any of her actions. Since she's been questioned, she decides it's time to walk out of the marriage. To leave Bhuloka. Because it was an explicit purpose. And what was the purpose? She reveals to Shantanu how he was a great Rajrishi called Mahabhisha in Brahmaloka. And Mahabhishas at one time happens to view Ma Ganga because he has a human desire. That desire cannot be fulfilled in Brahmaloka. You need appropriate circumstances to fulfill a desire. It's a very interesting logic. If you have a desire, what does it take to fulfill that desire? Please look at it in terms of explicit cause. We assume implicit aspects. But if you make it explicit, what all is required to fulfill one desire? You'll understand it's so complex. So you need full circumstances to fulfill one desire. Let's say I have to fulfill a desire of being a multimillionaire. I realized at that time that I would have to spend another 10-20 years working hard in that direction to fulfill that one desire of being a multimillionaire. And hence for me, it flipped. Would I want to invest that much period of my time in pursuing that task? I felt no. I have other things to do. So the reasoning broadened. Not that pursuing being a multimillionaire is wrong, but look at it in terms of the explicit cost. The explicit cost is in terms of the entire life process aligning to pursuing that desire. So every desire matters. It's you who desired and hence chose this prarabdha. Prarabdha is like a rule. Let's say, for example, my brother-in-law works for Apple. Let's say Apple has a job profile. And somebody wants to apply for that job. So there is a match between the profile and the interest of the applicant. Right? So the role has evolved, the applicant's qualification, everything has also evolved, and there is an appropriate match for that role. Similar is the understanding of prarabdha. When we say prarabdha karma, it is like a role. You sign up for a role. You will have Guru guiding your participation in that role. That experience started revealing to me such inner details of the purpose of my birth. The experience of Samadhi. Because as long as I was projecting strongly with the mind, it's a projection capability. It's called Vikshepa Shakti. When you say Maya, Maya Shakti has twin Shaktis. Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti. Avarana is a leading power, which will not allow us to see further. Who am I, if you ask? You will have to penetrate many levels of avarna to understand who you are. That's why all yantra, mantra, sadhana will have multiple avarna. You will have to penetrate. Go deeper to the center, to who you are, to realizing who you are. Why would that be complex? To illustrate that, these stories provide powerful illustration. So Ganga is revealing to Shantanu who he was. Shantanu does not know who he was. The purpose of his birth. He chose to be born in that kula, Vilika. But he has forgotten. Because of being embodied, he forgot the purpose of his birth. Why he has come here to that. And that purpose was just because he had a desire to be with Ganga. But it cannot be fulfilled in the loka that he is in.
So multiple things are converging here in terms of one is his curse has to be fulfilled somewhere, desire has to be fulfilled somewhere. And now the vasus are there whose curses have to be fulfilled in terms of they taking birth on Bhuloka. So many things converge for this combination to happen.
So you start seeing the non-linearity. It's cause and effect, but non-linear causation. Multiple things converging and diverging simultaneously all the time. So Ma Ganga reveals to Shantanu the nature of his birth and reveals the nature of the birth of the Ashtavatu and the need for them to be liberated from their physical form. So she is not looking at it as a crime. She is looking at it as a hatya or murder. She is looking at it as commitment. She has given a word to the Vasus that she will liberate them from their physical form. Very interesting.
See, one can also be attached to the children, right? It's born from her womb. But she has to have enough detachment to actually put
That shows her greatness. And such things are illustrated in the Mahabharata.
You can always think, these are beautiful babies and then keep them and raise them as your own.
Yes. And why are our children born from our womb? Those become very, very deep questions to introspect. What is the nature and purpose of birth? So that desire that Mahavishya has leads him to that birth. So his is a different kind of birth. While Bhishma's birth, his own son, is born as Devavrata. His birth is because of a curse. But the curse is to have a long and prosperous life on earth with all glory. So, glorious life, is it a blessing or a curse? Yeah, very difficult to say. So, that's where the inner orientation, the inner intentions that govern it, those become very critical. It's not just outer appearance.